All right, this is Unit 5, Day 4, and it also just so happens that for 2020, this is the last lesson we're going to do. So this is it. It's the last thing you're going to learn. We will take a test then next week, and after that, we'll start studying for the final and take a final, and then you'll officially be on break for summer. But let's get started here. So now we know three ways. Three ways to solve a system of equations. Well, why do we care? Why do we do so much with systems of equations? It's because they actually have a lot of real-world application. You say, when are you going to use this in the real world? Well, this is one you could use in the real world. Some of the stuff we teach you, it's good to stretch your mind. It makes you a problem solver, but after you graduate, you'll probably never see it. But this is one where you could definitely use a skill to solve real-life problems. So first off, I can write a system of equations from a word problem. Don't be overwhelmed by the word part. Yes, there are words. Yes, there's a paragraph to read, but that's fine. And then I can solve word problems involving systems, which kind of saying the same thing. So solving word problems, first off, we define our variables. Okay, it sounds silly, but it's going to make our life a whole lot easier, especially give it like a good name too. We don't have to use X and Y if we don't want to. You can use, D for dollars, or P for pencils, or say P for phones, or whatever. But give it a real name that'll help you remember. Use what you know to write two equations. Okay, and then the third step is solve it using what we've learned in the last three lessons. Actually, the last two lessons. We're going to focus on substitution or elimination. We don't really, you can graph it if you want, and that's fine. There's nothing against it. It's just typically real-world problems are not presented in ways that are easy to graph. And I mean like slope-intercept form. They're not presented that way. Okay, so first problem, Colts fans out there. I'm not a Colts fan. I'm a Bears fan, but not much to talk about, right? So the Colts have scored 225 points so far this season. So pretend like we're in the middle of the season. And then the number of touchdowns is 3 more than double the number of field goals. And yes, we understand that there are other ways to score. We're going to assume that a touchdown is always 7 points, and that a field goal is, it's always worth 3 points. We're not going to have any safeties or missed extra points or going for 2 after a touchdown. None of that stuff. Let's just say that you can score 3 points or 7 points. We're going to kind of simplify a little bit. Or we'll say that the Colts only ever did that. They never went for 2 after a touchdown. They never got any safeties. Well, their defense is terrible anyway, so they wouldn't get any safeties. Little dig for the Colts fans out there. But let's just say they only score 7 points or 3 points. Okay, how many touchdowns have they scored, and how many field goals have they scored? Now, you just guess and check all day with this, and you just, it would take forever, though, to guess it. But let's try to find a system that'll speed things up for us. So I almost think it's probably easier just do a comparison of touchdowns to field goals. And this is, when you're doing this comparison, it's almost like there's no value. It's just a touchdown, a field goal. They're not different values. Whereas if you're talking about total points, there's a difference. A touchdown's worth 7, a field goal's worth 3. They have a different value. In fact, maybe we'll go that route first. We'll go total points first. So for every touchdown I score, let's define variables. I preached it so much and I almost didn't do it. So what we're going to say number equals the number of touchdowns. Well, I'll say T. That's a pretty easy variable to use for touchdowns. And then for number of field goals, I'll just put FG capital, we'll say is F, field goal F. So for every touchdown I score, if I multiply that by 7, that's how many points I got from those touchdowns. And if I took the number of field goals that I made and multiplied by 3, that's the number of points. If I add those together, that's a total number of points that I've scored. Keep in mind that the Colts have scored 225. Okay, so this one, there's a difference in value. Okay, touchdown's worth 7, a field goal's worth 3. Where the first equation is it just says that the number of touchdowns is 3 more than double the number of field goals. There's no value to that. It's just the number of field goals, the number of touchdowns. So the number of touchdowns is, remember, is equals, so the number of touchdowns is 3 more than something plus 3, double the number of field goals. So double the number of field goals, okay? So there's my 2 equations. And think to yourself now, so we defined our variables, we got our 2 equations, now we can solve. Substitution, elimination, which one would be easier here, okay? So remember, with elimination, we want the variables to line up, so the t's would be on top of each other, the f's would be on top of each other, the equals signs would be on top of each other, and the constants would be on top of each other. Now this is very close, t's, f's, and constants, but look at the equal signs. They're different places here. We do, however, have a variable by itself. Okay, so that's kind of nice. That looks like it's perfect for substitution. So what I would do for this, again, I'm on this step, this process, I'm going to go a little bit faster because we hopefully have had practice with this. Okay, so I'm going to take this equation, 7, leave a big gap for t, plus 3f equals 225. I'm going to plug in 2f plus 3 into its place. Okay, so now look at this equation here. There's only f's. So it's going to be, I can solve for f. I can solve for the number of field goals right now using this equation. So distribute, so 14f plus 21 plus 3f equals 225. So it'd be 17f, number of field goals. Sounds like I'm upset about something, but I'm not. And then subtract the 21 over, so 17 times the number of field goals is going to equal 204, and then divide by 17. I'm going to use a calculator, and that is 12. So there are 12 field goals. So that kind of helps out. I can figure out how many points are there from those 12 field goals. Or I could just, well, yeah, I could do that. But this one up here, this is the equation. If I'm trying to find the number of touchdowns, use this equation. Touchdowns equals 2 times the number of field goals, 12, plus 3. So the number of touchdowns equals 24 plus 3, which is 27. If you went to check that, if you took 27 times 7 plus 12 times 3, you get 225. If you double the number of field goals, that'd be 24, and then added 3, you get 27. It said 3 more than twice the number of field goals. Okay, so that's, that's kind of the way to use this. Let's see, Tyler and Stephanie, they bought some DVDs and some Blu-rays during the Black Friday sales. Tyler bought 12 DVDs and 5 Blu-rays and spent $60.88. Stephanie, you can read that. What's the price for DVD? What's the price for a Blu-ray? So my variables here, I'll say D is the cost for a DVD. B is the cost of a Blu-ray. Okay, so let's plug these in here. So Tyler bought 12, so 12 times the cost of a DVD plus 5 times the cost of a Blu-ray. If I add those together, that's the total amount of money he spent, which happens to be $60.88. Okay, the other equation, Stephanie bought 4 DVDs, so 5 times the cost of a DVD plus 7 times the cost of a Blu-ray. That'd be her total, $46.96. Okay, so now this one is set up nicer for substitution or elimination. Okay, everything's lined up real nice. It looks like it's pretty well set up for elimination. Okay, so the only thing here is I gotta figure out if I want to get rid of the DVDs or the Blu-rays. These have a least common multiple of 12, which is already one of the numbers. This one's 35, so that's going to take it 2 multiplications. So I could actually just take the first one times -3, that'd be -12d, minus 21b would equal -140.88. Okay, so I'm going to put a little line through this just for now. So I'm going to add straight down, and I would get -16b equals, I'm using a calculator here, -80. divide by negative 16, and it looks like I bought 5 Blu-rays. Okay. Now, if you want to find the number of DVDs, plug it back in. I'm going to save some time here. Plug it into one of these equations. It ends up being 299. Good gravy. My light would not come on in my room. So it ended up being 299. I am sorry for that. Let's go back here. So again, I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit. The solving part, maybe I'll kind of skim through it because we've been solving. It's setting it up is probably the more difficult part here. So I have 37 coins in my pocket. All the quarters, they're all quarters or nickels. And when I added up the value, it was 605. But like an idiot, I forgot how many quarters and nickels I had. So I added it up, I wrote it down. Maybe 10 days later, someone's like, hey, how many quarters did you have? Oh, I don't remember. But I do remember this information. I know, doesn't seem like it's real life, but let's go with it. So I'm going to write one equation that has to do with the amount, the value, and then one that has to do with just the number of items. Okay, so number of coins. There were 37 coins total. Well, how would I get that? I would get that by adding up the number of quarters and nickels. Well, let's give some value here. So number of quarters, number of nickels. Okay, so I would say, so N would be the number of nickels, Q would be the number of quarters. Okay, so I've got Q plus N equals 37. But now the amount, the number of quarters I have, I need to take that times their value. So 0.25, the number of nickels times 0.05. If I add those together, the value is $6.05. Now notice, I didn't put 25 and 5, I put 0.25 and 0.05. The only reason I did that was because this was written in dollars. This amount is in dollars, so I have to put these in dollars. It's $0.25. If you wanted to, you could have done, maybe I'll put it up here a little bit higher, you could have done 25Q plus 5N, but then you got to put 605 because you're talking about pennies. Okay, either one's fine. It really doesn't matter. In fact, it might be a little bit easier to do this way, just to have whole numbers in there. But that's totally up to you. Okay. Now this is set up really nice. Here for elimination. And in fact, maybe if I put that in there, that'd be elimination. So let's do this. Let's just move the decimals out of the way here. So I can't really get rid of them, but we'll just do that. We'll say it is 605. So we got 25Q plus 5N plus or equals 605. Now, if I want to get something that I can eliminate, I'd have to multiply, let's say this one times negative 5. If I multiply by negative 5, then these would go away. So it'd be negative 5Q minus 5N would equal, let's see here, I didn't multiply this one out ahead. So 37 times negative 5, so 15. So negative 185. And if I add straight down here, kind of changed in the way I wanted to solve this. I thought this way might be a little bit easier now I'm looking at this. So I would have 20Q, N's go away. I got 605 minus 185, and this would be 420. Okay, let's see. So now, if I divide by 20, so the number of quarters would equal 21. Okay, so there's 21 quarters. If I want to figure out the number of nickels, I would use this equation right here. There's 37 total, so I would just take 37 minus 21, and you get 16 nickels. Okay. Julie has $554 in her savings account. She puts $12 a week into the account. She has a checking account with $770, and she withdraws $15 per week. At this rate, how many weeks until her accounts are the same? Okay, so there are two variables here. The things that are changing is the number of weeks and the amount. So I'll say A equals amount, and W equals the weeks. So the number of weeks. Okay. So her savings account, she had $554. she's going to add $12 for every week, and that's going to equal the amount. So if it 1 week later, add 12. If it's 2 weeks later, add 24, and that gives you the amount. Her checking account, she had 770. She's going to withdraw. She's going to take away 15 for every week, and that equals the amount of that one. Okay. Now, when they both, you might think this is great for elimination. And you could do elimination. You have to switch some signs, but when they both equal a variable, the same variable, you could just set these equal to each other. So we're kind of doing substitution. So 554 plus 12W is going to equal 770 minus 15W. I'm going to add 15W to both sides. Subtract 554. And that'll be 216 divided by 27. And I get 8. Okay, now then, all they asked for is the number of weeks. Now, if I want to find the amount, I could plug that back in, but this one I was just trying to find the number of weeks. Okay, and then the last one, suppose you're trying to decide whether to buy or rent ski equipment. You find out that it costs $60 a day to rent and buy a lift, so that's $60 a day for both. To rent and buy a lift ticket. So if you pay $60, you get to have the equipment and you get a lift ticket for the day. You can buy ski equipment for $400, and then a lift ticket is $20 a day. Now that's included with this. When you rent, the $60, $20 is included. So if you plan on skiing for 8 days, should you just buy the equipment and then take it home and use it again? So to rent, the amount, and A equals amount. The other variable is how many days am I doing this. So I'll say D equals number of days. So my amount to rent would just be $60 per day. Now if I want to buy it, the amount is going to be $400 to buy the equipment, but then $20 a day for the lift ticket. Okay, so you start thinking, boy, this, not sure, it doesn't seem like that $400 is going to be worth it so much. Well, let's just figure out how many days are they till they're equal. So how many days would it take until buying it makes it worth it? So since they're both set equal to A, I can set these equal to each other. So 60D equals 400 plus 20D minus 20D. But divided by 40, that means at 10 days of the same cost. If you're going for 8 days, then you don't need, they're not going to be the same. One's going to be cheaper. Well, which one's going to be cheaper? Obviously, the renting is going to be cheaper because you're not spending $400 up front. So should you buy the equipment? No, you should not buy the equipment. So when would it be better to buy it? Well, I'd say more than 10 days. Because at 10 days it's equal. Maybe you can say, maybe I'll say 10 days or more. Why would I say 10 days was good? At 10 days, the cost is the same, but you get to take the equipment home then, so it would be worth it then, I think, for 10 days. So 10 days or more would definitely be worth it to buy the equipment.